Türkiye'nin kültür sanat ekranından herkese merhaba. TRT İşbirliği ile gerçekleşen 13. Boğaziçi Film Festivali'nin açılış filmi TRT ortak yapımı Filistin 36 oldu. Dünya premierini Toronto'da gerçekleştiren film büyük ses getirdi ve Filistin'in Oscar adayı oldu. Şimdi filmin oyuncularından İrlandalı aktör Liam Cunningham bizlerle. Liam, welcome back to Istanbul. It's great to have you with us.
It's lovely. It's been a year since I've seen you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
So, you believe art reflects society, and when power goes unchecked, it can turn deeply cruel, right? I mean, watching Game of Thrones, we knew that it was fiction, but over the past 2 years, we've seen far worse, especially in Gaza. So, how do you see that connection between fiction and the world we live in today?
Well, it's funny you should bring up Game of Thrones because, I mean, the story is really about how power corrupts. And to use your word, unchecked power leads to what we have in Palestine, which is widely recognized as a genocide. And because power has been unchecked, and the world has not said to Israel, enough is enough, and done something about it, stopping doing business. But they feel that they have the right to do this, and they're behaving with impunity. One of an artist's job is to hold a mirror up to society. So it's my duty as an artist, not only to entertain and make people happy, and it's also a duty to inform. And I think you mentioned in your introduction, Palestine 36. That's part of that.
Let's talk about Palestine 36, actually. The TRT co-production takes us back to the 1930s, to the early days of occupation in Palestine. So what drew you to the story?
Strangely enough, it's because I'm Irish. And when I read the script, and we have to remember Palestine 36 is 1936, 12 years before Israel came into being. And there's a remarkable, not coincidences, similarity between the story for Irish liberation and the search for Palestinian liberation. So much so that you watched the movie. You told me you saw the movie.
Yeah, I've just seen it.
Yeah. The soldiers.
And it made me super angry, I must say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful production,
Yes.
strong storytelling.
Yeah.
But the story itself is so upsetting
Yes.
that it left me heartbroken.
It is heartbroken because you feel empathy for your fellow human beings. But to go back to what drew me to it, those soldiers that you see in the movie in 1936 were the same soldiers that were doing to the Palestinians what they were doing to the Irish people before they were brought over to Palestine. And Ireland suffered an occupation for 800 years. So, so again, especially for an Irish person, we understand the journey that Palestine and Palestinians are on.
So the film explores loss, dignity, and resilience. And what do you hope audiences to feel or question after watching it?
For anybody that's curious out there as to what's going on at the moment, happened and is happening, then this movie is a perfect way to find out. It shows when, in this case, a British occupation starts to throw people off their land, like they did in Ireland, like they did in Australia, like they did in India, like they did all around the world. And you can understand the root causes of what happens and how resistance happens. So if you want to understand revolution, and you want to understand resistance, and you want to understand where we are at the moment, then this will help you in your journey.
Since you're here for the Bosphorus Film Festival, I want to ask you, how do you see the role of cinema in preserving truth? And do you think cinema is finally helping the world listen?
I think it's part of it. I mean, you have to remember that cinema is a medium, like television, like books, like music. And I've some of the best work that I've done and most proudest of. I did a beautiful children's movie that I'm still very, very proud of. I've done comedies. I've done love stories. I've done all that. But I've also done films that are socially responsible, shall we say. And I did a movie that won the Palme d'Or in Cannes, the biggest prize in cinema, called The Wind That Shakes the Barley, for Ken Loach. And it was about civil war in Ireland. Just after the British left, two factions started fighting each other, and brothers were killing brothers. I mean, it was awful. And there is certain resemblances when I saw the script for Palestine 36. Of course, the British were a big part of both stories. Cinema has an obligation to reflect our times. And they can absolutely change people's minds. They can inform people. They can bring up stories that are not in common knowledge with people. And they can tell stories of individuals, sometimes better than, newspapers or books or whatever it may be. And we get people revealed to us. We get stories of not just heads of state or kings or, heroes or army people, but ordinary people. I think those stories are incredibly important, and cinema tells those stories very well, and Palestine 36 tells that story very well.
We are seeing more Palestinian-centered stories gaining international recognition, right? I mean, no other land won an Oscar for Best Documentary, and now Palestine 36, as well as The Voice of Hind Rajab, are creating Oscar buzz. How do you feel about it?
I think it's a really good thing. And you mentioned The Voice of Hind Rajab. Last September, when it was kind of launched at the Venice Film Festival, it got 5 new executive producers on board. When Hollywood had been very, very quiet, we had Brad Pitt and Joaquin Phoenix, Jonathan Glazer, very big, high-profile Hollywood names. And the tide is starting to turn. I think people are stopping watching CNN and Fox, especially the young people, and are finding out the truth for themselves. And Hollywood, I think, is beginning to see through the lies.
Liam, finally, through your journey from activism to this film, Palestine 36, what have you learned about humanity, and what gives you hope now?
What gives me hope is that I've always believed this, is that 99.9% of people are decent, are good, are trying to raise their children, are trying to earn a living to pay their rents, and they have a genuine concern of just having a peaceful, happy time with their families and their friends. I think the other 0.1%, some of those run the world, and that's the problem. I think it's time for decent people to take back the world. You need to speak up, and as I said before, especially those with young children, down the line, 10 or 15 years down the line, when your children are being educated in school, and this is going to be a big part of history, and your child comes home and said, we saw a thing about a genocide in Palestine. What did you do during that? You've got 2 choices. If this was the Holocaust in World War II, you could have said, we didn't know about it. This is in 4K on your television, and the only excuse you're going to have to be able to give your children is, I didn't care. Do you want your child looking you in the eyes and saying, you didn't care? And if you don't speak up, people are going to ask questions.
Well, sir, once again, it's been my absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Hopefully we'll do it again next year.
TRT işbirliğiyle gerçekleşen Boğaziçi Film Festivali'nin açılış filmi olan, aynı zamanda TRT ortak yapımı Filistin 36'yı bugün oyuncularından Liam Cunningham'la konuştuk. Tekrar görüşünceye dek hoşça kalın.